I'm Rebecca McLaughlin, and I live in Middletown, Connecticut. I worked with a group called Middlesex Clean Air Association. Middletown is a small city and it has an old-fashioned downtown. It's a nice city to live in. It's right next to the Connecticut River, which is a beautiful river. Not far down from the center of the city is one of the Sooty 6 power plants.
So I worked on the campaign to clean up the Sooty 6, the 6 oldest and dirtiest power plants in Connecticut. And the goal was to close a loophole in the Clean Air Act that allowed these old and dirty power plants to be grandfathered in, and that they didn't have to meet the Clean Air Act standards. You know, soot and smog creating pollutants, so it causes asthma, emphysema. You know, people were really unhappy who were living around these plants and had to breathe this air. The campaign started in 1997.
Toxics Action Center and Clean Water Action were the ones, I think, who started the campaign, and were looking to see if people were interested in working on this issue.
We sent 2 organizers to Connecticut to work on this campaign right at the beginning, and there had been a lot of community concern, like sporadic community concern around the different 6 power plants throughout the state. And Bernadette, who was really the original lead organizer on the campaign, she basically worked to create a framework for all this concern to be channeled into. She went and met with boards of health and local community groups and legislators to talk to them about the power plants and to listen to their concerns, and slowly but surely helped to form community groups all around these 6 plants, and then linked those groups together and worked also with a really strong partner, Clean Water Action. And between Toxics Action Center, Clean Water Action, and these 6 community groups formed a coalition.
Before working on the Sooty 6, I had no prior experience in that area. I'm a graphic designer. My husband and I had a 5-year-old daughter at the time, so I got a flyer in the mail that basically said, do you know this power plant is 2 miles from your house and pumping out sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide and really dirty, 2 to 3 times dirtier than all the other plants in Connecticut. And if you want to know more or help do something about it, come to this meeting. So it's like, well, yeah, I'm mad. Yeah, doesn't sound right, you know. So I went to a meeting. You know, going to a meeting like that, I kind of went by myself, not knowing anybody else. And I'm a little bit reserved and shy sometimes. And so I kind of like sat in the back and I wanted to observe, you know. But it was obvious after a while that I wasn't going to just observe because they broke us out into little groups, which was smart, you know, because really the only way you're going to get people involved is get people talking. When we started the group and named the group Middlesex Clean Air Association, the group really consisted of older people, younger people. It was kind of diverse and nice. Everybody had their own niche or their own thing they liked to do. There was somebody who really liked to write letters, and that was what they did. We had other people who loved going to the legislature and talking with people. We had people who liked to go to the meetings, help set up meetings in other towns and talk to people about the issue. So I think everybody kind of found where they fit. I think one thing that Toxics Action was really good at doing was sort of being very strategic, but also not making you feel overwhelmed. It wasn't put to us, this is what you need to do. They certainly had ideas, and they also talked about other towns or cities who had maybe not tried to do this specifically, but who had plants that needed cleaning up and what they would do. So we had something to look at or an example. We wanted these older plants to have to meet the same modern clean air standards as all the newer plants.
The Connecticut Coalition for Clean Air wants to reduce pollution by forcing local power plants to abide by stricter emission laws. An alliance of clean air advocates is targeting what it calls the dirtiest smokestacks in Connecticut. They call themselves the Connecticut Clean Air Coalition.
Coalition members argue that the pollution from the plants seriously endangers the environment and the health of state residents.
The first year, it never even made it through the House of Representatives. That's why we went back to the legislature again. That was something I had never done, and I think a lot of other people had never done, to go up and talk to senators and reps. The following session, it passed through the House and the Senate, and the governor said he was going to sign it, and then he did not sign it.
And this was actually a really upsetting time because the governor came out and said, I'll sign it, and then changed his mind the night before he was going to sign it. So people were really upset.
So we did it again. Yeah.
We ramped up the pressure. It was an election year, which really helped. I had to really re-energize people that had worked on this effort because they were really down in the dumps. I mean, they'd lost for 4 years in a row. These are all volunteer citizens who are like, you're kidding me? I've been taking nights away from my kids, and I work full time, and I'm doing this as another full-time job, trying to educate my neighbors about this. And they were tired. So when I came to Connecticut, we did birthday parties at each of the power plants to recognize how old and dirty they were.
We got lots of people to come. People wore costumes, and some wore big Sooty 6 stack hats. Because sulfur dioxide is SOX, S-O-X, we had a dirty socks day. We all showed up, probably 100 people, showed up with dirty athletic socks and put them on the governor's fence outside his home. A lot of it is about getting press, but you got to have fun too. It's a serious issue, but you can't take yourself too seriously. It
really put it on the radar. Okay, we're here, we're still organized with we're not going away to the governor. And that's when we actually formed the Republicans for Clean Air group, which mattered at the time because the governor, John G. Rowland, was a Republican, and he really listened to his constituents, his Republican constituents, especially because the Republicans for Clean Air was made up of large donors to his campaign. That's the group, those donors to the governor, that really pressured him with us and was the reason why ultimately he signed the bill to clean up those power plants.
It took a long time. I think the whole process took about 5 years, from educating people to going to local towns and passing local resolutions that were sent to the governor, to going to the legislature 3 times. Yeah, it was hard. It was hard, but the last time it worked. And it was a really good bill. Some of us were there for the whole thing, which felt really good to see it through.
Connecticut's power plant legislation that passed was the first piece of legislation passed in the country that cleaned up sulfur dioxide for old and dirty grandfathered power plants. So, it was precedent setting. We worked with Clean Water Action to put together, 6 years later, where are the plants now and how are they doing? And what we found is that they had an 86% reduction. This is what they used to produce for pollution, and this is what they produce now. You can just see they all went way down. Today, it's a big deal to people who live around there because they breathe easier. That was the whole goal. What better way to make a difference than fighting for your health and the environment and the health of your family? If that's not worth it, what is?
I came out of the experience realizing that as an individual, I can do a lot more than I thought I could do. And that's because I was working with a lot of other people and had good guidance. If you are working on an environmental issue, the smartest thing you could do would be to get involved with the Toxics Action Center.